Well, welcome back, everybody. My name is Tony, and this is going to be episode number 2, where I get to talk with a new friend in the hobby, a new YouTube channel that started about, I want to say 2, 3 months ago, and looking forward to this conversation. So let me welcome in our guest. Hey, Jay, how you doing?
Hey Tony, how's it going? I'm doing well.
Very good. Yeah, no, this is great. I know we talked offline about it's probably been a couple weeks or so, kind of back and maybe more, kind of back and forth with our schedules and work and
Yeah, I
trying
think
to
it's been probably a little bit longer. Yeah.
figure out what's going on, but appreciate you being open to it and taking my call or email, whichever way it was. But looking forward to the discussion. We, as by background, we kind of gave each other about 9 or 10 questions to ask each other. And we'll probably go in and out of those questions ourselves as well. Before we jump into the questions, maybe give us some background on your channel and why you started and how long you've been doing this.
Sure. So I was pretty much a YouTube commenter for quite a while, probably upwards of a year. Really just kind of discovering YouTube channels on YouTube. I was never a big YouTube person, period. And I don't even know how I kind of ran across it, but I think I just found something on YouTube. And as you like start to peel it back a little bit, you're like, oh, there's more. Oh, there's more. There's a lot of stuff here. So I kind of like dove in. I found some channels. At first, it was just like channel. Anybody talk about cards, I was listening to. Then you start to like settle in, and you find people that you follow, and it was great. And then through the commenting, I just started commenting, and I didn't really expect to get like a comment back on a comment. And it was weird because then you started seeing it happen, even with people that had these humongous following. They were still reaching out, and they were contacting everybody that commented. And that part of it, I was like, wow, like that is not what I expected. I expected this to just be like any other kind of, like a social media platform where you go on, you say something, and it's just kind of like you say what you say, and that's it. And so I found that there was more to the, as now that I know it as card community than met the eye. So that was kind of like a really new experience. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed listening to everything. And it was almost like my therapy, right? Like I didn't always have to buy cards. I could hop on and just listen to someone talk about cards and show their cards. And eventually, I thought about it. I think for a split second, I was like, maybe I should start a channel. I was like, nah, no one's going to look at my stuff. I don't have the stuff that everybody else has. And then as time went on, I must have been talking about it a lot, because then my wife ended up getting me the tripod, the light, the card stands for Christmas. So I must have been saying something. It's just like, do it. Just do it.
Yep.
And it was December 27th of this past year that I did my first video, with a lot of advice and help from YouTubers that I had been watching and following for some time. And the fact that they even gave me the time of day, I was taken really aback by it. They really helped me with a lot of things, guided me in the right direction. And I have just been having so much fun with it since. I've been putting out about a video a week, and just really enjoying myself. I'm trying to settle in. I still think there's times when I go to make a video, I'm a very fast talker, and I'll just, I got to try and sometimes focus my thoughts, get myself to slow down. I don't really do too much editing when it comes to my videos. It's I start recording, and then what you get is what you get. So
I'm kind of the same way too. I've gone back and I think done like 3 or 4 takes because I thought, oh, 5 minutes in, I'm thinking, oh shoot, that doesn't sound really good. I could go and edit it, snip it, but it's 5 minutes. I'll just make it up again. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, same
And
here. I'd rather
have a better thought maybe at the end of the day too. You said the second time versus the first time, but it's all learning.
Yeah, it's easier to hit the trash button and start over than go back and try and cut something out, and that's kind of where I'm at too.
Yeah, that's really good wisdom you were saying about sometimes you can watch and get kind of the need met versus buying something.
Yeah.
That's dangerous, right? You need some other way to like feed that need there.
You do, and it does. I think it satisfies that like itch, scratches that itch. For me anyway, it has. And now even making the videos is so much more like I don't want to keep using the word therapeutic, but like it really does like help me, like going through my cards and saying, wow, I don't even remember seeing this. And that's kind of, I had a video come out today where it was where I'm reorganizing my collection, found some stuff, was like, oh man, I didn't even know I had this. Well, this would be kind of cool to show. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Perfect. Yeah, well, I've been out of town a little bit, so I got to check out that recent video you mentioned. I saw it come up on my feed. I got to do that. So for all those who are watching, check that one out too. And yeah, you never know what you can find in your
Yeah.
storage box, your drawer, stuff you probably liked at one point or you remembered you bought, but then you just spend so many years and other things got in the way that it kind of brings back a good memory too, probably.
Yeah, yeah, it really does. I mean, I'm a big nostalgia guy, so
Hmm.
anything, I call it myself the junk wax. If that doesn't offend me that it's called junk wax, but like that
Yep.
junk wax era, I love that era. And going through and seeing those cards from the 80s and 90s that were just that mass produced, people throw them in the garbage. I would
Yep.
never throw a card in the garbage ever, 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 ever. I don't care what kind of card it is. I would not
Yeah.
ever throw something away. But seeing those cards really does bring me back, especially certain, certain sets, certain years of sets.
Yeah, I think my 10-year-old self would have done the same thing as in not doing that. Like keep
Yeah.
them all, put them all in pages, and you have a
Yeah.
million of them, but it brings back a memory.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Same.
Cool. Well, why don't we jump in? I know we'll probably hop around on some of these things too, but I know you had sent me some questions. I had
Yeah.
sent you some questions, but do you want to kick it off and we can just
Yeah.
kind of go maybe back and forth?
Yeah. I'll kick one. I'll kick it off. I got one, and this one could be like an extended one. This might be one of those things. There's a lot of videos right now out there about this, and I don't want to get too lost in the weeds, but I think that there's very good thoughts on this all the way. Everyone has great opinions on this, so
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious as to your opinion. So my question for you is, what are your thoughts on grading? Do you need it? Do you want it, or could you care less about it?
Man, you said it correctly. It's almost understated how many different comments you can have on this. And people
Yeah.
can say the same thing, but minutely different, and then maybe argue about some aspect of it, right? So for me, I have never graded sent anything in myself. I've
Hmm.
bought things for sure, both companies. I like seeing things in person, but I don't really have a lot of shows or shops near me. So I kind of have to rely upon other people's views and judgment on things. So again,
Yeah.
grading kind of helps have a level playing field of what a 2 or a 5 or a 10, I guess, could be. But I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'm not aching to like get my next 10 kind of sent in to make some bigger goal of something. They'll be around in 5 years and 10 years. I'll maybe get them graded then, or maybe in a month or a year. I mean, they're going to be around.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get like something done by like March 31st to achieve a goal of some sort, right? And I guess the money I'd spend on doing that, I'd rather spend on the actual physical card itself, right?
Hmm.
But I don't fault anybody for sending 10 things in every week or never sending things in. That's how you want to spend your money, how you want to do the hobby. I think that's fine. But I think it does set a level playing field in terms of buying things online. I would hope. Again, people can always say you've graded something incorrectly. It's too high, too low. The company did X, Y, and Z incorrectly, right? But in general, if you can't see it, it's 3,000 miles away and you're selling me a card. If I see it's an X or a Y, I should be able to know kind of what that is.
Right.
So I paid for them as in already having them done, but I haven't actually sent something in yet.
Yeah. So I didn't really know where I stood on this. My um, experience with grading was very limited prior to entering vintage. So when I
Mm,
was a modern collector, I did for the first time ever send two cards in for grading, and actually was really happy with the results. But after that, I didn't send anything else in. Those were two specific
yeah,
ones that I wanted to send in. And even then, when I saw the cost, I was like, man, I don't really know if I really want to pay to have these sent in. I could use that money for something else, an actual physical card.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah. Mhm.
so I'm kind of at a point where if I buy on eBay, unless it's a really well-known like consignment place like Greg Morris or one
Mhm.
of those places, I would buy ungraded. But if it's a bigger card, I really don't buy bigger cards, and I don't definitely don't buy them online because if it's not graded, there's just a part of me that says, I don't know. But even now that they've changed things on
Yeah.
eBay and they go through that process now where they have to, I think, pass authentication or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just not a big person on that. Now, with that being said, I love buying raw because I feel like I can get more for my money and
Mhm.
not really too overly concerned with condition, but with player runs and some of the like the Hall of Fame run, the Diamond Stars, I would prefer that those cards be graded because I think it looks nice and I think that
Yeah.
it definitely protects them a little bit better. So
That's a great set of points there, because for me, like, I'm trying to think of the cards I bought that are above, say, $100, $200, which a lot of them are like below that.
yeah.
And above that number, I want to say I think all of them probably have been graded. Because
Mhm.
you don't want to like spend $300 and be like, oh shoot, there's a crease. You
Yeah.
trust the person and it doesn't come out the right way, right? So I think I'd probably err towards that, like you said. The ones that are 10 or $15, unless it's like maybe a cheap 10 from our 87 Tops days, junk
Yeah.
wax days, right?
Yeah.
Just for like nostalgia, you buy it. Okay, that's fine. But if I can kind of judge the card and some that sell at different angles, you can kind of see if it's off center, there's some corner issues, right? I may trust my gut and kind of go with a $25 purchase, right? And
Yeah.
just have it raw. But then when I get it, I'm not going to go send it right off, because I just don't need to, like, I'm not chasing something today, you know? But if
Mhm.
people want to, that's totally cool. I have no fault against doing it either way you want to do it. I do like the idea of a registry. I like the checklist completionist type of like approach to that. And I wish there'd be one combined one that you could
Yeah.
have SG, but that's not happening now. It appears. Maybe it never will. Maybe it will at some point in the future. Who knows?
Right.
But I'd love to have like a way just to kind of compare, not to like be frustrated, but like just kind of compare and I guess be inspired by other people's collections in that same run, whether it's SGC, PSA. I don't care. So I want to see the cards, see
Mhm.
what they look like. Maybe one day I'll have enough to kind of get a complete run of threes and fours or twos. Like, I don't, that's kind of my level of things right now.
Yeah.
But just to see them in person, like on a separate site, would be cool. But right now, I'll stay on the sidelines and kind of see how I think things kind of shake out a little bit more.
Mhm.
But not rushing to do it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good answer.
No. Yeah, we could go 45
I
more
do.
minutes, I'm sure, on that.
You could. I mean, there is just so much on this topic. I think to some it's just like, oh my God, are we talking about grading again? But it really is a talking point. So
It is, because again, I mean, you can choose to spend, was it 12 to 20, whatever the dollars or more on certain things, right? And
yeah.
that's out of your budget, but you achieve this kind of level or this almost certainty of what you think you have.
Hmm.
And then again, there's frustrations around when grading companies change scales and terminology. I can understand if you have a bunch of stuff that the terms have now changed on you, that's a video in and of itself. I can understand
Yeah.
why people want to talk about that. I don't have that collection now, but I can understand why it's a big deal. I totally
Same.
get it for those folks.
Same.
So, well, cool. Yeah, no, I think so. I'll pop back one with here.
Yep.
One with here. I think you talked about a few things in terms of junk wax and early memories of cards. When did you start collecting, and what's kind of your first memory of maybe ones you've opened up, you bought, you got as a gift? Anything stand out?
So I don't. My earliest memories of cards, it just seems to like encompass like a certain era, like just a certain couple of years, because I remember the cards that I have and the 84 to 86 top sets of baseball. I just feel like I was constantly opening packs of those. I don't remember
Hmm.
opening my first one, but then I think about it, and in 84 I would have been only 4 years old. So
Mm.
was I opening packs of 84, or did the stores in 86 or 87 have packs of cards from 84, 85, 86? And a part of me feels like that they did.
Good
That
point
like
about that.
they
Yeah, maybe.
that they
Hmm.
weren't just pulled off the shelves like at the end of the year. Like I feel like the corner store, like, and it was a corner store that was around the corner from my grandparents' house. That's where we go, and that's where like the penny candies were, and all that stuff. Like, so I bought my cards from there, and I constantly remember opening the packs. I remember keeping them in shoe boxes. I remember rubber banding them by team.
Yeah.
I remember being a big fan at the time of the Pirates, because I'm in Buffalo, or just outside of Buffalo. So the Pirates were, or the Bisons, Buffalo Bisons were the Pirates farm team. So it was
Okay.
just kind of one of those things. And then I remember being attached to the Mets for no particular reason, because my grandfather was a big Yankees fan. So I don't really know why, but my grandfather and my aunt, the two of them were always with me. I felt like opening these cards and going through the cards. I remember my aunt being a big Steve Garvey fan.
Okay.
It's just those type of memories stand out. I don't have a particular, like, this is the first time I opened, but I know 84 to 86 I had a ton of, and for whatever reason I also had a ton of 71s, which I have no idea where they came from, because
Interesting.
my uncle was collected baseball cards when he was younger, but my grandmother threw out his entire collection. So I'm not sure where I accumulated those cards, but I remember having just a huge amount of 71s.
That's funny. Yeah, because my local card shop had stuff back to, I bought a lot in like 86, 87, 88. The
Hmm.
shop had stuff back to 78, unopened packs I would buy. This is like 10 years. They were sitting on the shelf. Like, did you not
Yeah,
sell them in 10 years? Or how would you get them? Did someone like bring them into trade? You said, fine, I'll take them. They're on the shelf. And this one guy named Tony kept buying them all. Why is he going to buy them? I don't even know. It was 10, he was like 10 years old. They were older than he was. Like, why is he buying these packs? But I got into vintage football because they had like weirdly packs that were 10 years old on the shelf at the LCS. And I'm like, and I got to buy it all. Why not? It's there. I got
right,
to buy it. Right. So I
right.
bought the current year, of course. And for me, it was 86, 87, 88, 89, and all that kind of till like mid 90s in high school, kind of high school, buying a car and all those things kind
Mhm.
of got in the way. But I went back as far as they would sell me things.
Yeah, yeah. I feel
What
like
was available, like you said. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like that's kind of what it was that I think stores had just stock and they weren't going to pull it. I mean, why would they pull it? Then it doesn't sell. If they're going to sell, they're going to
Yeah.
sell it. So, man, how do I, do I wish now that they would still, like, places would still do that, where you go in and be like, oh, hey, look, there's a pack of 82 Donruss, and
And some
that's
places may have them. I mean, some stores are definitely more probably
yeah,
modern focused, but some probably have them stashed away somewhere, more
yeah,
vintage stores, maybe
yeah,
older, cheaper type packs. Yeah, 84, maybe 85, 86 baseball too. You
right,
never know.
yeah. All right, we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, let's go see what do you got next for me, I
All right,
think. Yeah.
so how did you get into the hobby, particularly the vintage side of the hobby?
It kind of segues with a story about the buying the old packs
Yeah,
because I would buy 86, 87. I saw those players. They're watching them on Sundays. They were current. I was like, that was the year to collect. It was the most recent one that came out. And then the hobby shop had stuff back to 78, 82, 83, 84. I'm thinking, well, I got to buy those too. And some of those guys were still playing. Some definitely were not playing.
yeah,
Some I never saw play, but they were there to be bought. So I was thinking they were there to be bought. That means there was a set to be completed at some point. So
yeah,
kind of like even as a 9-year-old, I was like, I want to go back earlier than I was even born and seeing these guys kind of collect and put them all together and accumulate and complete the set, all those types of things. And that kind of got me looking at people I never saw play, looked at the stats, how many touchdowns they had or home runs they had, things like that. So from an early age, I was always thinking about things older than myself or older than, I guess, the collections I had in like currently. And I think even the Beckett's when they came out, football, baseball, I'm sure too, you get the Beckett's of like, here's 1991's sets, right? See all the prices, ups and downs, arrows, things like that. But they'd go back to like the 40s and 50s in the same magazines. So you're thinking, well, what are these? I'm going to flip through. What are these? Interesting, interesting.
yeah,
Wow, look at the prices of these are going up or going down or whatever these things are, right? And it's like there's more out there than I know about. So they had cool pictures, cool colors, cool photos, cool stories to talk about
mhm,
them in the magazine too. So it kind of was like, and ultimately you realize as a 10-year-old kid, you can't, buy it all or ever have it all, but to see it all in a nice little like 50-page booklet,
yeah,
that kind of got me thinking, well, there's more than just 88 to collect. And actually thinking about that too, like in football at least, there was only one set every year was tops until
mhm,
89. Pro
yeah,
sets came out later, just tops. Once you got that, it was like, well, I guess I'll wait till next year and collect baseball or basketball.
yeah,
Baseball had like 3 or 4, right? Different sets into the
yeah.
90s,
I remember there always being like
80s
Don
too.
Russ, Fleer, and yeah,
So once you kind of got done, you're like, well, what else do I do with my time? Let's go back to go older ones. Maybe if I'd been more into baseball, I would have had more to like keep me busy in
mhm,
like the current years. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, but who knows? That's kind of what my thought would be, I guess, too, on that question.
oh, good. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's. I think that that's like I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it was like me. I don't think I realized that there were older cards. Like I was just like,
Mm,
okay, these are the cards now, and I know that there's the black border and then the vertical with the team name,
yeah.
or you know what I mean, like, and that was it. I don't think, and when I did start to like really get into the cards by the 90s, I was collecting a little bit of everything. I was collecting, like you just mentioned, the pro set. So like
Hmm.
pro set football, pro set hockey. Those were like the main one,
Yep.
and they were cheap and you could find them everywhere. And
Yep.
so like I didn't really start to look back on the vintage until a few years ago, when I knew that they were there. I just didn't think they were attainable, and now I know
Yeah.
otherwise.
Exactly. I mean, at some point, maybe if you had like and you had a family member who had 71 tops, you said, so you kind of knew there was something out there beyond, I guess, 84, 85, 86.
Yeah.
But if you see the players, you see the 50-cent packs, the 45-cent packs, they're colorful, they're red, yellow, green. I'm not sure if hockey was colorful too, but pro set football definitely had all the rainbow colors that are on
Yeah.
it too. It kind of kept your interest motivated. And for me, I was more of a 45, 50 cent pack type of guy. Upper Deck was always like kind of a stretch, or if ever, I never got any of those.
Yep.
I think I spent $1.25. I could buy 2.5 for $1.25, whatever it was, So all those things influence, I guess, which ones you go after.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned, I know, baseball, being a baseball fan, and I imagine being in Buffalo. I'm not sure if you grew up there or born there, but did you follow one sport primarily more when you were younger versus now, maybe?
Yeah, I was really big into hockey. The Sabres were everything for me. So because we didn't have, I wasn't a Yankees fan. I'm still not a Yankees fan. I don't, and I will watch them on TV because I like watching baseball. But back then, I think like going right into the 90s, I was watching Sabres hockey every night that it was on. I was collecting hockey cards like crazy. I was not real big into football. I wasn't real big into Bills at the time. I collected football cards, but I wasn't interested in watching football. And as far as baseball went, like I don't know if you know this, but like Buffalo is in a blackout zone for Cleveland, Toronto, Pittsburgh, and then the Mets and the Yankees. So like you can get local Mets and local Yankees games if you have the certain channel, but for the most part, you're constantly blacked out on all these other games. And
I didn't know that.
You didn't really watch much baseball because of the blackout coverage. So and as a kid, I don't think I could sit through a baseball game when I was watching hockey with these guys just going boom, 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 like zipping up and down the ice. It was a much more exciting game for me. So that's kind of where I leaned. And for a long time, I collected both baseball, football, and hockey cards, but I was all in on hockey cards. I mean, I was collecting so much. I mean, I just had binders and binders and binders filled with hockey cards. I actually have a few right here because we might both start showing some cards, right?
Yeah, if you have something that kind of ties to the story, for sure. Yeah.
So like we talked about those early Pro Set cards, and so that's like one of the early Pro Set hockey cards. You know what I mean? And I like just a ton of Pro Set cards. Got those. And then like you mentioned about the Upper Deck, like Upper Deck was kind of like the higher end card, and they were like glossy and they were really nice. Sorry. So like this set, I know that I bought a box of this, and this was probably the first box of cards that I bought, and that's the 93, 94, well, maybe 92, 93. Matt Barnaby is my favorite Saber of all time. Matt the Rat, I really liked him. But like I just remember hockey being, the sport that I would always go to, and that's a collector's choice. And then like this Parkhurst set from the 90s, I think this is like my favorite because it's just like when you look at the color, you're like, whoa, there's so much going on. I was always kind of collecting that kind of stuff. And even like in the 80s, and this is a Phil Esposito, but like this is probably the oldest hockey card that I still have. This is one of the few from my childhood collection that did not get thrown away. So just, kind of that type of stuff. There's Hasek. There's the Dominator. That one's actually, he was at my friend of my aunt's owned a driving range, a golf driving range. And he used to come in all the time, got his autograph. And then this card particularly is a Lou Robitaille. It's a score. This card was the first autograph card that I ever owned. It was the first time that I had walked beyond the corner store to like the card shop that was like 2 or 3 blocks away from my grandmother's house. And I remember looking at this and seeing it in the case and going, wow, it's unbelievable. And I just remember as a kid, I think I don't know how much in my mind I'm saying I paid $5 for this card, but it was like, oh my God, I'm gonna pay $5 for this card. But it was my first autograph,
That's great memories right there. Yeah, to have a local card shop and a local store right next to you go to get packs and have both options. It's great.
Right.
Now I know zero to nothing about hockey. I should know more about it. Yeah, I guess in the 80s and 90s, was Buffalo a good team? Were they not?
In the 90s, they were the mid to late 90s was like some of even the early, like I say like 93 to 99. I was just glued to them, and I loved watching them. They were a pretty good team, pretty competitive. Made a cup run. 90 no, I think it was later than that. I don't even remember. Oh no, it was 99. Made a cup run in 99, and into the 2000s, again an exciting team. And then they had some management changes, and I remember them trading away on the same day two of my favorite players, and I was like, what is going on? Like, this is not how this is supposed to be. We were a really good team. And then from that point on, I don't think I've watched the Sabres more than 2 or 3 Sabres games a year since then, and they are just, the game's changed in general. And I thought maybe they were like getting the fighters out of the game, the physical part of the game. But there's a lot of teams that still have those playmakers, but they're also very talented on top of it. The Sabres just are just a nightmare to watch these days.
Okay. I should not have brought that up apparently. But,
no, that's all right.
I'm saying more about the Bills I knew a lot about in the 90s with all their 4 Super Bowls, and that didn't, of course, turn out very well for them. But still, 4 Super Bowls is quite a lot to accomplish all in a row.
I kind of wish I was more like followed it more and appreciated it more, because I look back on it and I was definitely like, I could have appreciated it. I just, at the time, football really didn't interest me that much back then.
Yeah. Well, hey, things change, right?
Yeah,
I've always been football pretty much, but got into baseball when we got WGN, got cable in 6th grade. You had never had cable before that, and you have WGN now. You have TBS, so the Braves and Cubs both were on. I mean, every day in the summertime, April through October. And being a Bears fan, just, well, why not the Cubs as well? They weren't doing that well in the 90s, but they had memorable players like Andre Dawson, Ryan Sandberg. Greg Maddux was there, of course, started his career, and then went to the Braves on TBS, right, the other channel, and TNT later in the 90s. So watched him win some World Series and do well with the Braves during their pennant runs as well in the 90s. So it's funny how what you, I guess, have accessibility to, or in your case, you're a blackout from certain games too in teams. So it's like what you don't see also impacts probably who you like, who you follow, as much as what you do see. So funny how these odd events can kind of come together and shape what we do nowadays.
Right.
So
is it my turn, your turn? I don't even remember.
Maybe your turn, I think.
My turn?
Let's do that.
All right. So I have experienced nothing but really overwhelming positive experiences since starting my YouTube channel. If you pretty much experienced the same thing, like with other content creators, other channels, I mean, it's been great. It's fantastic on my end. I was just wondering if it's been the same type of experience for you, because our channels are kind of like just, getting going.
That's a great question. Yeah. And my background is I didn't start watching until probably August of 24. I'd watch for things like how to fix something on your car. I never knew there was people making stuff around things I collected. Like, that's kind of an odd. Why would people do that? But people have been doing that for a number of years. So that's kind of a new revelation to me. But no, your first question, no. I mean, nothing but positivity. Like you said, I made something, a few people comment, you respond, they respond back. Really? You have time to do that? Like, I'm just like one thing in, one day in. What are you doing? How much time do you have to look at me? It's kind of weird, to think about it. But they did. And so I've seen nothing but people responding positively, encouraging. I emailed 4 or 5 different people before I even started saying, hey, what camera do you use? How do you do this? Is it like a part-time job? Is it like in your garage? Like, I don't want to like start something and then not be able to finish it, because I was like, too much work, it's too much time, but kind of, is it doable? And the answer was yes, for sure. And certainly you can do all types of bells and whistles, or you can kind of do the iPhone once a week. All in the middle is like an option too. So nothing but positivity. When I reached out to people like yourself, others like, oh yeah, sure, let's talk. Let's do this X, Y, and Z. And good job on this. Thanks for sharing. I'll look at your stuff later. And so, yeah, nothing remotely in terms of comments around non-positivity, for sure.
Good. Yeah, same thing here. I mean, I don't think that there's anybody. I mean, I haven't even gotten like a snarky comment. I'm sure they're out there, but everyone's entitled to their own opinion anyway. So even if I got a snarky comment, I would still say, well, thank you for watching my, the episode, because that, it's still great feedback. It's constructive criticism or whatever. And it's good to have differing opinions. If everybody agreed on everything, it would be pretty boring.
It would be. Yeah. So no, the one thing I will say, it's not a negative comment is that sometimes, like you said, early on, I was watching whatever I could get it my hands on, right? All types of channels. That's all. Kind of early on, I was like, what is out there?
Yeah.
And for a few months, you're like, okay, now I kind of want to go on what I want to focus on. I know what my lane is, what my interests are. You can't do everything. You got to kind of pick your focus, right? And so the things I've been watching definitely have been narrowed down to more, I think, people that I guess show things like I have, right? I mean, there's still an occasional kind of news channel I watch as well. I used to watch a lot more of that. but now I feel like I kind of know more of kind of what the lay of the land is and what the basic hot topics are, where I don't need 6 channels, I need like one or two, right? But that's not a negative. It's just like more kind of narrowing down the time we all have, and 24 hours a day, you got to sleep some in there too with family and job and kids. So it's picking your battles there as well, I guess. So yeah.
Yep.
Well, cool. Let's keep on moving here. Let's see. I guess outside of cards, do you collect anything? You showed some autographs, I have a few of those too we can show that I brought with me. But do you have any non-card things you're interested in, or you collect, or you want to collect, like other?
So I have a lot of things that I've accumulated over the years that I guess I really didn't even realize that I had this stuff. And when you had asked me this question, I started to like go through and I was like, oh wow, I have this, I have that. And
Okay.
I'm almost afraid to like open that Pandora's box, because I feel like then it's going to be, here I am trying to get cards and now I'm trying to get this other stuff. So I did
Yeah.
pull out some things that I have that I figured I would show,
Yeah.
that I kind of ran across. So my mom, when we were growing up, she had a part-time job working for the Sabres. She worked it was originally called the Odd Club, and then it was called the Harbor Club, and it was for pretty much, it was a restaurant, season ticket. Anybody could go in, but season ticket holders really could go in. So there were always events that she had to work and everything, and I remember going to a lot of games. So this I found, which was kind of cool. It's a little dusty, but Memorial Auditorium was where the Sabres played, and this was their final game, and it was against the Hartford Whalers, and they gave this to everybody that came in, and then on the back is the ticket stub, that I got with it.
Very cool.
So I thought that was kind of cool, and I've hung on to it all these years. Well, then they ended up opening the new arena, and it's been called like 5 different arena names, and at this point I don't even remember. Oh, Marine Midland Arena was the original. So I went to the first game at Marine Midland Arena, and they did the same thing where they gave you this type of thing that tells you the time, and then you can't really see it, but the ticket stub is back there.
Yeah,
so
a little bit.
That was kind of cool. I talked about the Stanley Cup run. This was the commemorative ticket that they gave for the Stanley Cup run against the Stars.
Nice.
So that was one thing I had. I have no idea where I got these next 2 things. I just found them. These were commemorative coins. So they're still in the package, and there's Jim Schoenfeld, old school hockey player. And then on the back, that's just it just shows his stat, just a little bit about him and whatnot.
Okay.
And then there's Dominic Hasek, which more people are familiar with, the Dominator, and then the checklist on the back. So these are the only 2 I have. Again, I have no idea where those happen to come from. Probably one of the coolest things I have in my hockey collection. Now, there's a smudge on it, but this is an autographed hockey puck, and this is the French Connection. I don't know if you're familiar with the French Connection, but they were like one of the best lines in the 70s in Sabres history.
Okay.
It's Gilbert Perreault,
Nice.
Rene Robert, and Rick Martin. And they're all 3 of their autographs on there, and that's a really special one for me.
Was that at a show you picked that up, or maybe at a store?
No, my mom, she was working, and I want to say at the time there was some type of fundraiser, and it was one of the dollar or the side raffles, and she bought a ticket, and she ended up winning it and brought it home, and I was like, oh my God, that's a huge type of thing. So
absolutely.
At the time I was a real big hockey fan, so it really was something. A couple of the other things that I have, and I don't want to go too crazy here with time.
Sure.
So when I started getting into bills, collecting bills, because eventually, come the 2000s, I started really getting into the bills and following the bills. So I started collecting a lot of football cards and pretty much anything I get my hands on. And I ended up buying these mini helmets too. Now this one, it's hard to see because it's gold.
Who is that?
On there, a gold paint marker. That is Takeo Spikes. He played with us for a few years, and it's just he signs his autograph TKO 51.
That's gonna look like I thought, what is that? But that makes sense now.
So that was pretty cool to get that one. I also have this one right here is another one. This one's Jim Kelly. You can see the auto on there.
Yeah.
I have a Thurman Thomas.
Oh,
same
yeah.
type thing. And then I also have this one. It's hard to see the autos in these boxes, but that one is Lawyer Malloy, who played with us just for a few seasons as well. So I have those. I actually just put my stuff over here, but there's a bunch more hockey stuff that I have. It's all Sabres, like old programs and stuff that I just
Cool.
kept over the years.
Yeah, of course.
Nothing.
They got to keep those things. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Great.
I knew I had them, and then just I didn't know where they went for a long time. But like, there's just a ton of stuff here that, again, I just kind of accumulated over time. Baseball wise, I don't have too much, but I do have a couple of. I have an autographed bat upstairs, which I'm not going to reveal just yet because that's going to be on a future episode.
Cool.
I do have this bobblehead that I found at a flea market, and it is a double bobblehead, and it's Cal Ripken Jr.
Okay.
and I believe Joe. I can't think of his name. I can't think of his name, and I apologize, but somebody's going to know. Somebody that watches
Someone
this
in the comments, please let us
that's
know.
a big Orioles fan. But I'm
Yeah.
thinking to myself, they're holding a trophy, and it looks like the World Series trophy. And I know that
Yeah.
Cal was not on a World Series team. And so I'm trying to, or no, I'm sorry, 83. Yes, he was. So 83, yes, right?
There we go. Okay.
Yep, it does say it on there. So, but it says Monroe County. Do you see where it says Monroe County right there?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And
really
so
interesting.
Monroe County is right where Rochester, New York is, which is like a 40-minute drive down the thruway for me. And I think that what ended up happening was this Joe, who I can't remember his name, was I believe the Rochester Red Wings were the farm team for the Baltimore Orioles, and he was the manager for that team. So I'm thinking that Cal might have brought the trophy down, and that was the bobblehead night. I have no idea. I don't really know the history. I just saw it. It was $10, and I was like, it's Cal Ripken Jr. bobblehead. I'm gonna buy
$10
it.
right there in person. Yeah.
Yeah.
No shipping. Yeah, that's good.
And I do, as you know, I like Boog Powell, so like I kind of have that Baltimore connection, and I always liked Cal Ripken growing up. So the other thing I have is I have this baseball, and it has his name on it, or his number on it. And what this was, now it's beat up, and I regret this because at the time I got it, and I was like, oh, cool, they're giving away a ball at this game. I went to this game in Baltimore. It was against the Yankees, and it was the day that Cal Ripken was inducted into the Hall of Fame. So they broadcast his Hall of Fame induction on the scoreboard in the outfield, and they gave one of these collectible balls to everybody. At the time,
cool.
I wish I would have just like put it in a case, but instead I was like, oh, it's like one of the few baseballs I have. We'll just, whenever we got to throw a baseball around, we'll just use this. And
Exactly.
I think I found it like in a bucket of balls in my garage, a while ago, and was like, this needs to not be out there. This needs to be in somewhere else. So
get him to sign it one of these days, maybe.
Yeah. So that was the long, I did pull out a bunch of stuff there, but I thought it would be, just it's a little bit of everything. I didn't really know what to cut out there. So.
No, that's okay. We stream from Buffalo to hockey to Baltimore to baseball.
Jumping all over the place.
All that is great. That's so cool. We all have different kind of pieces of old games we went to, first games, last games. Someone took us to a game, and we have real ticket stubs. Nowadays, it's like on your phone.
I wish we still had real ticket stubs.
Yeah, you didn't think about that. I'm looking I have one right now. I'm looking at it right now in my room. It's when the Cardinals came to play, or the Bears came to play the Cardinals here in Arizona like 8 years ago. I'm thinking that's a big physical ticket. It's now on like Ticketmaster, StubHub. It's not on like you can't hold it anymore. It's kind of funny to think about.
Yeah. And if you do hold it, it's a printed out piece of paper with a QR code. Like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
I want the one where they had to like bend it and you gave them part of it and you kept the other piece.
And you kept the big piece of it. Yeah. With the date, the name, the player's picture, maybe the row, the section you sat in.
Yeah.
So yeah, memories with that for sure. So
right.
Yeah. No, good showing off. That's perfect.
So I guess jump to the next one.
Yeah. What do you got?
So what are your goals for YouTube 2025 and beyond?
Yeah. For me, it's being consistent on making content. I've been able to do with just my job. I work at home, so I can kind of fit some more things in than maybe some other folks can. Do 2-3 videos a week, show off 1 or 2 cards a video. And just frankly, the biggest one was connect with other people like yourself, or meet them in person at a show, or what's local in Arizona, or it's going to the national. So it's using it to not just, hey, here's what I have, but how I have, show what I have, but also interact with other people, comment on their videos, they comment on mine. You make some friends virtually or in person, and kind of make it more of a fulsome, more well-rounded hobby, I guess. And doing this with you is like one step in that direction for me, because I never would have done this 6 months ago or 6 years ago. So gives you the venue to meet people that are 4,000 miles away. You have similar connections, interests, or maybe not, but still enjoy collecting something.
Right.
And so I think this is like the example of what one of my goals is, doing this and trying to find more people like myself, yourself, who collect the same or different, and carving out an hour once every few months or so, or less, whatever the case may be, and
Yeah.
talking about stuff and just seeing where it goes and having a good time with it. So
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool.
yeah. Do you have some similar kind of thoughts you would have, or something different you'd like to do here coming in the next year or so, or
I'm
even
not
in-person shows you're going to go to, or meeting more people at
I'm not
potentially?
I'm not sure that I have anything beyond 2025. I'm just kind of taking it one day at a time, because I think one of the biggest concerns with me is not running out of, and I know it sounds crazy because I have like a ton of lower like common cards like that you can show, and watching YouTube videos, I know that there are people
Yeah.
that love watching those videos,
Yeah.
but I feel like I gotta continue to be creative and think of new ways to do things. So I'm just trying to get through the next video and the next video after that. Usually I'm about 2 videos out
Yeah.
with my ideas, and then I start to think again. I do have Strongsville coming up
Nice.
in April. I've been in touch with a lot of people that are going, that I'm hoping to meet up there with and meet in person. That's going to be a big trip socially, and for part of adding to my collection. So that's going to be a big event for me. Originally, when I first did started my channel, I said I wanted 150 subscribers in the first year, and I've been amazed that I'm at 160 whatever it is right now.
Yeah.
I've
Congrats. That's so
exceeded,
cool. That's
yeah, I've
great.
exceeded that. So I'm just taking it one day at a time, one video at a time, trying to find what works, what doesn't, and keeping people coming back.
That's cool. I think one of the questions either I or you asked me, or vice versa, was about upcoming shows, I think. And you
Yeah.
mentioned
Yep.
Strongsville.
Yep.
Before jumping on this whole thing we're doing right now, I had no idea they even existed. I had no idea that city was even in Ohio. I had no idea what this even was, but it's a thing apparently people go to. And so looking forward to hearing about your experience, other videos, other interactions, seeing people at the event, what's going on, who you talking to, who you meeting.
Yeah.
I will be living vicariously day by day, and love it. Look forward to hearing the cool stories, the
Right.
pickups, the interactions. And so I love you going to that, and look forward to seeing what you can pick up and who you can meet over there too.
Yeah, same. It's coming very quickly now. I feel like times are probably like slowed down now because we're so
Yeah.
close. Really looking
Because
forward to it.
is that in April? Is that what you
That
said?
is in April. It's the
Okay.
11th, 12th, 13th. Yeah.
Good.
So
And I think you mentioned in a prior video I watched, you had some maybe ideas of some stuff you may want to look for, like
you
maybe some
know,
regions, some ideas, some vague ideas, maybe.
I feel like I'm putting cards down on paper and saying this is what I'm gonna look for. And I
Yeah.
feel like it's almost a waste of time because I know
Mm,
what's gonna happen. I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna walk to like my first 2 tables and be like, whoa, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. Okay, what am I gonna do? Which one do I
yeah.
want? And I'm just gonna be a
Yeah.
mess. So I think it's gonna be a lot of just doing laps around, visiting tables multiple times, and then trying to get myself to focus and say, okay, now I've seen everything once or twice.
Yeah.
Now I really need to figure out what it is, because I still think are having that internal debate with myself. Do I want to get 2 or 3 big cards and call it a day and just say, wow, these are 2 and 3 cards that I didn't think I'd have for 10 years from now?
Yeah.
Or do I come home with 25 smaller cards and say,
Hmm.
I just added 25 great cards that are on my want list to my collection,
Yeah.
and actually was able to like check off, maybe complete a project or two, instead of having 8 or 9 open projects where it's just you're never gonna finish.
That's a debate as well for another day about,
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
buy one or 1,000, and
Right.
something, or in the middle somewhere, right?
Yeah,
And all that's a good right answer for everybody, right? No, nothing is a bad answer. It's just,
yeah,
what do you want to focus on? What do you want to do? And what makes you probably happy and doesn't break the bank too much? And
right.
And the projects you have going on are based on your interest, your background, your history. And so do what you want to do, and hopefully you find some good stuff there for
I'm
sure.
hoping. I'm hoping.
Yeah, that's great. Um, see, maybe are we back to you? I'm
Yeah,
trying to think of my video questions here.
possibly.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you got coming up
So
maybe?
I've got this. This should be a good one. This is going to be, um, what are the channels, the must-see channels for you every week, and maybe some of like the under the radar channels as well.
I thought about this a lot because I could name off 3 and miss like 30, right? I don't
That's
wanna like miss and not say somebody, so it's kinda hard to cut it off. But one thing I thought about too with the answer is that there's a lot I don't know who else is out there. I wanna find more people who are like me 5 months ago. I don't
yeah.
know how to like do that, so I gotta like keep searching, exploring, clicking on random things maybe and seeing who people are sharing and liking and all that stuff too. But to your first question though, let me go back to my list. I did wanna put something together here. So, um, anything from the 4 collectors, those
Mhm.
guys, they have like the one
Yep.
channel, then like all their individual channels. I love all of what they do. Different interests, all vintage, usually baseball. I love learning about, just learning about things I knew kind of existed, but
Hmm.
didn't really know the details of, and just being awed by, you have that or that exists. That's such a cool idea. And that was done 50 years ago. And someone has this over here, and just learning about stuff, I think also interests me too. So you got that one. Aaron at Value Vintage,
Yeah.
watch him. Midlife, of course, with Greg. Wax Pack Wisdom, I do like that one as well. Chris from Missouri. Uh, Billy Ballgame. Did a video, of course, like doing with you with Joe,
Hmm.
Redneck Collector, also in the Missouri, I think, area there. Jason, I mentioned too. I think he's in Chicago as well. And then some of the other kind of, I'll call them like, what do you want to call them? Not combinations, but kind of like um, coming together, a couple channels coming together. So
Oh
you have
yeah.
Chris and Mike, baseball collector, do the Showcase Showdown. Have
Hmm.
you seen that?
Yep. Yep.
That is such a great idea. It's like the best 30 minutes to watch that and hear the banter, the cards, of course, I never knew existed or don't have, and seeing what they
Hmm.
look like and the history of some of them. So, and with that, I feel like I already have too much to do and keep up with, but there's probably 30 or 40, I'm sure I probably
Yeah.
have clicked, but those are some of the top ones, I guess, right
Yeah.
now.
I think you asked me a similar type question, and I did
Yeah.
jot down some answers. So I will say that like this week has been a struggle for me keeping up with everyone, and I watch so many channels. I am subscribed to so many channels, and I will do my best to watch every single one, almost all the way through as much as I can, and I
Yeah.
will comment on every single video that I watch. So I am definitely backlogged right now. It's been a very difficult week for me at work.
Yep.
Um, and so I am way behind. But I will make it up. I am like on the weekends. I'm off on the weekends, but I wake up just naturally, like out of habit, at 5 in the morning, and from 5 in the morning until people start to move around, probably like 7, 8, 9. Sometimes I just sit there and I watch these videos and catch up. So
Yeah.
there are a lot that I watch. I did make a list. I hate doing lists like this. I don't want anyone to feel left out. But
I
I
know
think
it's so hard.
when you pitched it to me, it was people with under 500 subscribers. So that's kind of what I
Yep.
went to. So I do watch a lot of the same ones that you just mentioned, but those are all above the 500
Yeah.
mark
Some of them
or
are
about.
above.
Yeah. So you asked me for the 3 channels. I
Yeah.
would say that I never miss an episode. Everyday Card Collector Jason. I watch
Yep.
every single one of his videos.
And I'm taking notes
Joe,
here so I can put them in the link too in the description. So don't mind me. So
yeah, Joe Redneck Collector. I mean, he's the same thing. You mentioned him as well. I watch everything that he does. And Rusty Vintage Cards. Rusty's a really good guy. He's got a newer channel. I think he and I started probably about the same time, and we just connected right away. Text each other a lot.
great.
He was not originally going to go, I think, to Strongsville, and now I think he is going to Strongsville. So I'm looking forward
Okay.
to actually meeting Rusty. And then I've got a bunch of like honorable mentions, and I could have gone on and on and on. So you just have to bear with me on this.
Sure. No,
But
by all means. Yeah.
Jim Faulkner, 5714 collector, has a really good channel. I like listening to Jim on Sunday mornings. He just kind of like that's part of my routine. Hodges 1455, Brian over at Hodges
Mm,
1455 has a really
yep.
good channel. Bader's Hobby Life, he has a really good channel. He hasn't put out a video in a little bit, but he's a good one to watch as well.
Okay.
And then there are some newer Mark's Dodger cards for sure. Mark's Dodger
Yep.
cards. He's a big Dodgers fan. Got some great cards. And then there's 3 relatively pretty new channels that
cool.
I have been trying to support and trying to get out the name out there for them. So one is Justin. He has a channel called Go Crazy Card Collecting. Joe Redneck Collector actually gave him a shout out. That's how I ran across his channel. And he's actually doing a series right now on all ball players that are in a book that are from Arkansas. So like Preacher Rowe, who I love Preacher Rowe. He's going to do an episode on him. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Very interesting. Cool.
At Neil's Sports Card Stories, that his name is Paul. He started a brand new channel. He's really putting some, doing his best, putting some stuff out there. I like watching his channel. He's a good storyteller. I like that channel. And then the last one, because I'm just keep going overboard here, is at Chai Sox Cardboard, and that is Brad. And Brad right now is actually doing a series on his 1965 Topps collection, kind of going through, and it is awesome. He is a very smart person. He is involved in buying and selling and just really breaking down trends and whatnot. So it's a pretty interesting channel to watch. So with that, I will say I probably left out a bunch of people, but those are, I really enjoy all those channels.
Well, thanks for doing that homework. There's so much to go through and think about and look at. So I appreciate you bringing all those names, because I think a lot of them I do know, and I think I've heard mentioned myself before, but then a few I haven't. So thank you for doing that. I want to do this to kind of promote other folks out there too, and those who are like, you 4 or 5 months ago, or maybe they have more subs, but just no one's kind of gotten into them yet, right? So, but you are, and you can share them here. So that's what it's all about. So that's perfect. Nice. I'll put those in the description as well for sure. That's perfect. So I'll sub them up as well too on some of these I don't have in my queue yet. Perfect. Well, I know we're coming up on about an hour, so I want to make sure I'm good with your time and my time. We don't kind of take too long here, and we all have evenings to get back to. So maybe one more question maybe you'd want to throw my way, and I'll do one more.
Yeah. What about your favorite player of? Oh, actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna skip a couple ahead. Most difficult part of collecting for you. What is the most difficult part of the hobby for you?
Yeah. There's not a lack of stuff to look at. That's the problem. Well, watch, look, and then buy is like 3 levels you can go to, right? So I think it's I think prior to the 4 or 5 months before I started doing this, I was pretty focused on what I liked, and I still like those things. But this has forced me in a good way, inspired me in a good way to be expanding in what I like and what I want to learn more about. So now it's like I had 3 roads I went down before, theoretically. Now there's like 10 options of like, well, that's kind of cool. Should I think about that, or maybe it's a 5-year goal. That's a 1 year, that's a 1 month type of goal, right? And everything. And of course, money and time is all very finite. You can't have it all. So it's a good problem to have. But like I said early on, nothing but positivity in what I've been doing. I love what it is. I love learning about the history and things I thought I knew about, but then didn't really quite know all the details of. Picking up books to read, movies to watch, articles to read that people have probably known about for a while, but I just kind of found out about a few weeks ago. So just trying to expand what I think I know, what I do know. And then from there, kind of settling back and saying, okay, I know all this now. Where does my interest level kind of take me? Is it still the same place it was going before? Or maybe a different road? Do you shut a door? Do you open a door? Do you keep 2 doors open? Like, what do you kind of do to like keep things, happy and going? So kind of think through that right now, but there's too much good stuff, I think.
I 100% agree with you on that one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you probably have the same answer to that question too. I asked you that, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's
with what you're looking at too. So I guess the last one, maybe we've kind of talked briefly about this, maybe not, but if you looked ahead like a year from now, say 2026 in March of 2026, is there something you don't have now, you don't know about, but you could see yourself getting into that you just aren't, you could learn more about in the next year? I guess you'd see yourself having something of this a year from, but you don't have any of it right now.
I do. So I have and I've said this before on my channel, and when I went on with Jason and Sammy, I have 7-player runs, not full player runs. Some are just tops, but some are 7-player runs. And I was doing like a 1952 Bowman Hall of Fame run, the Diamond Stars 34, 36 Diamond Stars Hall of Fame run.
Yeah.
And all those things, I can't imagine completing all of them because, like you said, money, time, like there's only so much you can collect at one time. So I would like to try and finish one of those collections, but they're all pretty pricey to do it that way because they're either really long player runs. Maybe the cards aren't as expensive, but they're really long player runs. Or like the 52 Bowman is, I mean, it's got Mantle and Mays in it. Like that's almost untameable. So it made me step back and say there is a project. I'd like to do a project that is attainable and attainable that I can complete within 1 to 2 years. And I think that I'm going to do that. And what I'm going to do is I could focus on one of the player runs, but for me, there's 7 player runs that I have because I don't like just buying the one player. So I'm constantly just like add one here, add one here, add one here of all these different people. So what I am going to do, what I'd like to do, I'm a big fan of World War II history, and I really appreciate the players that did some service time took time away from their MLB careers to go serve in the war. Yep. So I would like to combine my love of baseball, my love of World War II, and do some type of collection. So I went ahead and I'm trying to brainstorm of things I could do. And what I think I'm going to do is, if you don't know, everyone's I think kind of heard of the Battle of the Bulge. The Battle of the Bulge was the bloodiest battle in all of World War II, and it went over the course of a long period of time. It wasn't just a single 2-day battle. It went for a very long time. Most amount of American casualties in the entire war. But if you look at the list of players, of MLB players that had action, that saw action in the Battle of the Bulge, it's pretty impressive. And some of these guys are not very well known. And then you get 2 guys, the top, maybe the most well-known players, Warren Spahn and Hoyt Wilhelm. And what I didn't know was that Hoyt Wilhelm has 3 Purple Hearts for being wounded in action in World War II, which is
didn't know that.
Unbelievable.
Very cool. Yeah.
So then you start. I looked at this list and I started looking, and I'm like, even some of these players I've never heard of. They have 5, separate, so maybe 2 Silver Stars or 5 Battle Stars. Really impressive, that they were there, that they served, and that they survived when so many people didn't, and then came back to have, some kind of baseball career. Now, not all of them were as good as Warren Spahn and Hoyt Wilhelm, but what I did was I made a list, and it's about 15 players.
Very good.
Almost all of them have a card. Some of them have no cards. But what I'd like is just to get one card, one playing day card of each of them. And I think it's pretty attainable because some of these guys did not have great baseball careers, but it's gonna, check that box of, wow, this is so cool because yes, they weren't great, but they served our country. They stepped away from the game and they served our country, and they probably went through a living hell. And I really just, I would be honored to have those cards in my collection. And I would like to try and make that a newer type of target that I go after, and hopefully, complete it pretty quickly.
That's an amazing idea. I hadn't thought about that. And you think there'd be hundreds probably, right? But the battle's one battle versus the whole Pacific, Europe, there's lots more served, right? But in that one battle, I think I did a book report on that when I was in 6th grade or something. So I know about that. At least my 6th grade self did, right? 30 some years ago. But yeah, so many of those guys missed some of their peak playing careers. Like they could have hit 30 homers a year, but they missed 3 years in Europe or the Philippines, right? And they didn't, but that's what people did. Or even, Korea, Vietnam, maybe not, but Korea mostly for sure with World War II. These guys who are Hall of Famers, you played 5 years and nothing on their cards. And then they came back, hit 30 more home runs like it was nothing. Like, how did you do that? After all these years being on the sidelines.
Well, then there's the flip side of the coin. Maybe some of those guys would have had really impressive careers had they not gone to serve. You know what I mean? Like that's the other side of the coin.
That's true.
You never know.
They never got started. This kind of got in the way in a good way, I guess, not in a bad way. But then they never went back to baseball. They found someone, got married, did something else, and just it's a great. They did certain things they wouldn't have thought they would have done, but other people then did come back, and guys you mentioned, you had great careers in the Hall of Fame, and others who don't have a card, but be curious if they have some other type of a card or type of thing you could buy that has their picture on it, right?
Yeah.
To kind of have that. Sorry about my laptop.
No, that's all right.
Have that be like in the collection, that one thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to do that, and hopefully in a year I can say, here it is. This is what I have.
Yeah, that's great. Love to hear that list and see it once you put it together, do a video on it, and curious maybe who can help you in the universe out here who may have something for you to fit those slots in on those. What you said, 15, something like that?
Yeah, it's about 15.
Okay.
It could be more. I have the list upstairs in a book, so I'm still trying to track down the info. And,
very good. Well, cool. That's a great way to end it, I think. At the 1 hour and literally 28-second mark, it looks like, of this recording here. So, well, thank you, Jay, for the time. I appreciate it a ton. It was a work in the making, but glad we got to do this.
Yeah.
We'll look forward to doing it again, hopefully at some point in the future too.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
All right. We'll see you, Jay. Have a good night.
All right. Thanks, Tony.
Yep. Bye.